Okay, going for a take. Take two. Action.
It's part 2, which means it's all about you. It's all about me.
Bar, honestly.
Cory,
Hey.
we're going to give you a question.
Shoot.
The question is, why do you act?
Wow, okay, straight in.
Why do I act?
Deep.
I think, well, someone asked me before, like, how do you work so hard or whatever, or how do you do the things you do? And I was like, without the passion for it, the love for it, that's what channels my energy to do it. So like, if I didn't love it, I wouldn't work as hard and it doesn't seem as hard. So I think energetically, I gravitate towards creative sort of endeavors, even if it's not necessarily acting, even in my head, like creating stories and just what ifs and characters. I feel like I'm interested in people. So I love understanding the dynamics of like, what if this scenario happened, and sometimes getting a chance to live it, but even watching it. So I think that's what makes me want to do what I do.
Has there been a particular film that you've seen that in?
I mean, there's a few ones, but like I'll say The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith and Jaden Smith was one of the most sort of like heart-wrenching things when I was younger. That really was like, you know what, that felt so real. I think towards the end as well, where it gives him the job, and that scene where he's breaking down is such like it's so impactful. And I think that's maybe one of the only times I actually cried, like properly, being that young at a film. Because I feel like I could understand it. You know what I mean? So I'd say, The Pursuit of Happiness is something that really,
I mean, where did was it films like that you watched back then that was what started this passion for it? Like you talked about the love of just like wanting to understand the dynamics of people and stuff like that. Was there a particular moment where you shifted and just, because you could have gone to so many different pursuits, like, you know, you could have been behind the camera, in front of the camera, whatever.
That's a good question, because there's been sort of keystones, like bookmarks, where I bookmarked this moment, where it was like there was a change. Yeah. It's like when you get close to your dream, there's key shifters to like,
epiphanies.
I'm closer. Oh my God, these things happen. So I think my first one was initially actually being on the opposite side, where I didn't have anything to do. I wasn't really in a great place. I was like a teenager, teenager things. And I was like 14. I remember my mom, she made me apply for a youth theatre when I was 14. She did it. Which is really funny now, because you look at the dynamic between me and my mom, and I'm like always going out for acting things, and my mom's like always asking, like, you know, what am I doing now, and this, that, and the other. But she actually, initially, she's the one who started it. But if we want to go back before that, I got scouted when I was 6 years old, in primary school by Channel 4. I was on a Paul O'Grady show for 3 seasons. And they interviewed all the kids, well, most kids around the UK in primary schools. And they went to my local one, which is in like Wolverhampton. I'm surprised they even went to Wolverhampton, to be honest, you know. And they interviewed a bunch of kids. I was a really naughty kid at that time, really naughty kid. And I got the call. They called my mom and said, we want to use him in the show. And I presented the kids section of the Paul O'Grady show in London for 3 seasons. I was this naughty kid who wouldn't go to classes. I was really, really naughty. And next thing you know, I'm in the newspaper, I'm on the news, and I'm 6-year-old who's now on the TV meeting like Michael Bublé, Torvald and Dean, JLS. I did an episode with Michael Bublé. He was presenting the episode, and I was the kid presenter in that episode. Wow. I'd rehearsed with Sam and Mark and just a bunch of other people. And I feel like it found me in a way. I wasn't in that. The funny thing is, I didn't even know what acting was. I was just being. I wasn't trying. I wasn't wishing I was just being. And I think that's what I try and enact when I do my acting now. I just try and be. I don't try and have that script, because the mind can just try and make things quite logical. Do you know what I mean? So
I wanted to ask you as well, because from everything that I've seen and what I know about you, you're quite I can appreciate how much freedom that you seem to have on set. And how, because like you got like a theatre background as well, right? How do you find the ability to improvise and have freedom when you have the constraints that you do have in film?
That's been something that's been really hard to navigate when I first started acting. I remember my first proper job, and it felt really daunting because there was this mark on the floor. I have to reach this mark. I've got to walk over here.
Which was the first job?
My first proper job, where again it's like one of the shifters, I call it. One of the key moments was like Hollyoaks. I'm going to say like where I'm actually, I feel like really involved. I have to walk to this mark, and then I've got to do this thing, and it became too technical. I'm not technical. Yeah. I wasn't really. I won't say gifted. I wasn't given the, let's say, the card of technicality when it comes to like, you know, what I have. I'm not technical. I'm more flowy, improvisational. And doing that, it felt really, I felt really stuck. So I've only just slowly got into my stride. I've done a lot of short films, which I got to collaborate more with the people there. Short films have been my gateway into exploring proper characters, which feel like proper characters. So short films for me was the bridge between my theatre experience to it being on screen, I'd say.
And in terms of short films, obviously you did a short film called Hard to Reach, which has done very well. And I watched it the other day, and I really enjoyed it. And what struck me with that was you were just being, like you said, and the story behind it was it was a story which a lot of people can relate to, because a lot of people don't feel like they can speak out, but then when they do, they become free. And that's what, for me, when I watched it, that was like a troubled kid who has someone to help them who doesn't want that help because they don't think they need it, but they do. And then when they open up, they become just themselves, which is just a playful kid.
Yeah, you revert back to sort of like, you know, the origin. I feel like once in the film, once they were honest about how they felt, because ironically, my character, it seemed like he didn't need anyone. He's cool. But oftentimes I find in life, where it appears to be one way, it's the complete opposite.
Yeah,
just definitely. Like in, you know, Joker, Arthur Fleck, Joker, he was this like cool guy. And he needed love. He didn't get it. So I feel like the character in Hard to Reach was he needed love, he didn't get it. So he rebelled against the world. The world owed him something. And I feel like that's like an archetype in just general life.
Definitely. And did you approach it that way? Or like, what was your approach when you got that script?
It was just play. I mean, you know, Darryl, the director, he did an interview because we won at the Little Wings Film Festival at the Everyman in London, and he was speaking upon like how I helped him grow, because he's more like he's more logical in his way of performing, and I'm the complete opposite. Sometimes to my detriment. It's not always. Always works. Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is, I know the editor, and she was like, "Dude, you're a pain to edit," because I was doing something in one scene. Yeah, this guy behind is like, yeah, what's this? Yeah, whoa. There's a scene where I'm pulling something. Like, I start pulling something. I'm not meant to pull anything.
Okay.
On a wall, but they use that cut. I'm pulling something again
on the street.
Yeah, on the street. Yeah. I'm pulling it. That wasn't a lot of I bumped my head into his chest as well. None of that is in the script. All of that is play. And that year was where I started to really delve heavily into improv. And to me, that felt like the awakening of the creative energy. Like truly, it came out. And yeah, that's actually when my acting career started to take sort of an upsurge, when the improv came in.
When you started to take the pressure away and just play with the script.
Yeah, I'm playing. This is what I can do. If you want it, have it. If you don't want it, there's someone else who will.
You're not trying to fit a box. You're trying to just be yourself and be.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm changing the size of the box, and does this work for you? But I can do all these different boxes. If that works, great. And oftentimes, ironically, you know, when you first start self-taping, you think, let me just be this thing for these guys, because let me just, I don't know.
What do they want from me?
What do they want from me?
What they want.
They want me to do this certain thing. But once I started to in a way, not flip the script, but like direct the scene and change it, that's when I started getting the recalls and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I've noticed that as well. As soon as you go, actually, I'm going to think outside the box and not do what the text says. Casting have 400, 500 people, and then they see someone who's completely different to the other 50 people they've just watched, and they're like, finally.
Yeah, he's just being, but the thing is, you're just being your essence. That's what you would do without the constraints of, let's say, the self-tape requires you to hold something and throw it and be angry, and it's like, I'm talking to a wall.
One of the most interesting self-tapes I watched was Dacre Montgomery, I think it is.
Oh, the Stranger Things one, dude.
He was meant to be in...
And he's like, he's like,
he's meant to be in a car running some trying to crash,
yeah.
and he uses his dancing as an energy to get to that.
Kind of like he's just in the zone.
It's cool. Watch it. It's on YouTube.
That's a good example. That's a really good example of someone who just took a chance. What is there to lose?
Took a risk.
Yeah, definitely.
Love it.
Yeah, I think with that film, you've talked about that. Was there any other difficulties? Like, what was your biggest challenge doing that film?
The biggest challenges was the little time. We had 3 days for that film to do.
Really?
3 days in 3 locations. We filmed on a moving train. We had 7 stops to film the whole thing.
Wow.
Literal 7 stops. There was about 25 people in one carriage. There was a guy everywhere. Everyone was everywhere behind the camera. Like literally, it was super hot. The director, obviously Daryl, also starred in the film, so he was under pressure. And obviously, I had to deliver a good performance. And also, we only had a certain amount of takes because the train was moving. By the time it got to Leicester, we had to cut. We only had that train for a certain amount of time. So we only had 2 takes towards the end. Do you want to get off the train? We only had 2 takes for that.
Really?
And the train actually leaves. The train's not just leaving because the train's leaving because it's actually leaving.
You just send it all the way back round just for another take.
The thing is, I made a mistake.
What was the mistake?
I don't know. There's a certain angle I didn't do, and they had to just cut it together. But I only had 2 takes. But with me, like when the pressure's on, it's game on.
Yeah.
Like in theatre, when the pressure's on,
that's when your best.
I really shine, and that's just a part of me. And I've been gifted that ability.
With that pressure of just having 2 takes, does that hinder you then to not do as much improv, or?
Actually gives me freedom.
Okay.
Again, like in theatre, under the pressure of like, let's 10 seconds before we're going on stage, I'm so ready. I'm not like, again, each their own. But like for me, again, I feel like it's something that I've always had. I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm actually taking in the energy of everyone, and I'm ready to go. Like if something happens and it goes wrong, like I'm there.
I love it when a line gets dropped.
Yeah.
And you just see the terror in everyone's eyes. And you go,
But the thing is, it's like,
I've
got you, though, Johnny. I've got you. Like, you're not making a mistake. We're a team.
Yeah.
So it's like we're coming together. So
lean on each other.
There's way more leaning on each other in theatre than there is in film and TV. But I love theatre's a family. Film and TV is great, but theatre is just something that
you can't replicate the theatre.
The opening night or the curtains come and like your friends are there and the people that don't say anymore. It's beautiful.
I was going to ask you again with Hard to Reach, what was your like interpretation of the ending? Like I watched it when it came out, and then I rewatched it earlier today as well. And it almost feels like it goes in, like you could interpret it. I felt like it could go into this like kind of dream sequence where it kind of goes back to their essence and their primal nature and that sense of play, or is it just like happening in reality? Like what was it like for you, and was that a choice from you guys to leave it potentially open?
Well, the ending, we actually didn't know what we were going to do. Like the very, very end where we're walking, that was in the moment. There were some elements that was in the script, but we had like, again, 10 minutes or something, like 12 minutes to get it. And the day was wrapped. We had 12 minutes and we had to do something. But Daryl wasn't too sure. It was his first time directing. He didn't know exactly what he wanted to do at the end.
Wow.
So we did the walking scene, but yeah, we did go into another world at a certain point when we started picking up trees and sticks and stuff, because the gradient changed as well. So it was a different world.
I like the ambiguity that it gave you. There was another point when I was like, are they kind of, I don't know, it's this I don't know what, like older dude kind of finding like his child self at the same time, and it just feels like it's open-ended to interpretation.
We both needed each other in this film. Like he needed to actually find that playfulness and that kick again, and I needed that structure, which he has. And in my own life, I feel like it's really interesting because, you know, I've needed structure in my life because I'm so like more so creative brained. I need some sort of groundedness. Otherwise, I'm just it gets to the point where it's not even spontaneous anymore. It's just not. It's, you know, you need structure at some point. It's just chaos, and you can't live in just once. There's got to be sort of a level of having both.
How do you find that?
In my own life, I've added more structure. I've had to. My own self-care and grounding myself has been one of the most important things in my life. Actually, has made me a better actor. I'd arguably say it's actually made my nervous system even calmer, just so I can be more grounded in my acting, in showing up for people I think that's a big one. Showing up for people because I've shown up for myself.
Would you be able to speak about, because we've chatted about nervous system, and you were the one that keyed me into, I think you call it orienting. Where you like to run these guys, how you do that.
Well, I mean, I was just literally just thinking about it now. Basically, so the way I do it, I go to a park, I sit down, there's no technology, no distraction. I sit down and I notice things around me. It could be like the shine from the bench or like the edge of a cup. I notice the detail on the edge of the cup or whatever, or the shadow on a leaf, literally the smallest thing. I bring my awareness to it, and then I bring my awareness to a part of my body, so my feet or my legs, and it gives me a deeper connection with my body. It actually, I'm actually kind of noticing my body and communicating with myself more. Like, oh my God, I'm noticing I've got like an arm here, or I've got like I've got a finger, or like I've got a toe. Like those things we take for granted, it brings you back into your body when you need it most. Because a lot of the time I feel like a lot of the problems that I've faced is just, having all this energy, but it not being hot, like focused. So like if I'm anxious, bringing awareness to the part of me, the part of my body that feels, where's the energy and presence in it, like being grounded in that way.
Do you do that before you're working, or do you just do that just generally in life?
I do it every morning, just to be able to show up for myself every day. You know what I mean? So it helps my acting, it helps me notice detail, but it helps me in every aspect. Me talking now, me being able to articulate with how I'm thinking. So
it's almost like a body scan.
It's literally a body scan.
Yeah, because I was going to say I meditate a lot, and I've done a lot of like body scans where you just keep your awareness onto one thing and how that you connect to that.
Yeah, how you have a relationship with your shoulder. It's funny because you actually have relationships to certain parts of your body.
And then when you like, if you hear your ears, like you then hear the ringing, and it's like you can go deeper into that and then hear the blood flowing in your ear because it's there. Feel like? Or like your nose, and the fact that it's right in front of you, and you don't acknowledge it, but it's right there. It's interesting because I think that as well, being grounded is important. And with you're a very energetic person, you're a very bouncy person, you're a good guy to chat to because you just connect well. So having that groundedness, I'd imagine, has like really benefited you. But how did you discover that? Like, what was it that made you realize you needed to find that?
It got to the point where I had no choice. Yeah, a lot of time in life that's what happens, where it hit the shit hits the fan. And you need to, it's either I'm going to stick this way and I'm going to go into the pits of hell and it's going to be bad, I'm going to manifest the worst things, or I'm going to make a change. And it's hard at first, but like it's only happened really, I'd say, in the past year and a bit. There's been seeds of that in my whole life, but really taking action towards it, it's been in the past 12 months, I'd say. And I had to make a change. Bar my acting career, just me as a person. I think my acting career is separate from me. I am me, and then there's the acting career as well.
And they bounce off of each other.
If I'm not here for me, my acting career doesn't really mean too much. I was going through, we're going to speak upon this, Charlie Bone. I was going through an interesting time in my life during that, doing that. And it's funny how I was at one place in my mind and this massive big opportunity was there, and how they correlated. It felt like a lesson as well.
And what was that lesson?
It was harder to. I think in general, it was hard to enjoy things when I felt in my body so unregulated and out of touch with myself. It was harder to enjoy the simplest of things. So I was experiencing this amazing thing. I'm the lead of an Amazon show. It even doesn't seem real, but what I was experiencing in my internal world, it was all internal. My internal world, I loved doing it. Amazon was amazing. My internal world at that time was just, there was a lot of turmoil, as opposed, flash forward to here now. There's so much more there's so much more going on, and I'm so much more connected that even the simplest things, you got me freaking green tea before the podcast. And I was like, dude, that green tea slapped. It's just the simple things though. And again, orienting helps that. Yeah. It's a simple thing of like noticing the detail that we miss, You
take it for granted as well.
Because I do it a lot, take things for granted. And life flashes before my eyes. I was 6 when I was on the Paul O'Grady show. I didn't really know what was going on, but I can look back and be like, damn, that's insane,
And with Charlie Bone as well. So that was an Amazon show, am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, Amazon series.
Pilot. huge, loads of money being put into it.
Yeah.
Joseph Fiennes in it. What was the name of the
Actress?
actress?
Carmen Ejogo.
Yeah, and
from
she's
the-
in
from
Penguin
Penguin,
now
yeah.
as well. She's amazing.
Yeah,
in it.
and she's in Goodrich with Michael Keaton as well, which is
brilliant.
coming out in a few weeks.
And
Yeah.
I remember you telling me, like, everyone was saying it was going to happen, like that it was getting
Yeah.
commissioned.
Yeah.
Producers, directors,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
And then it fell through.
Then it fell through, and everyone was not expecting it. Even my agent wasn't expecting it, and it got the call thinking, "This is it. This is it. We're going to start the full series." And again, when you're not promised, but when when the contract's put on the table, you've got all these things you're getting. As a young man, you think, "Oh my God, this is it. Everything I've ever wanted, I've ever dreamt about." I mean, that is, it is it. And for it to not happen, there's a level of grieving which you go through. It feels like you're promised the world and then you don't have it, and you grieve it, and it's a shock. And I feel like telling people, because I told everyone, it was on the news, it was on Deadline, it was on Variety, it was on. I got messaged about it to me, like people were sending me the article, like congrats, and like to tell people now that it's not happening, it does feel bittersweet. But like, I just want to say, like, Amazon, the Amazon itself are amazing. Amazon Prime are amazing. I love their shows, and it's just one of those things. If I can do it once, I can do it again.
Yeah.
When I do it again, the person I'll be will be completely different. And I think the person I'll be by that point will be a much more grounded, level-headed person. I thank the person I was doing Charlie Bone, but I think also things are happening the way they're meant to be. Exactly. And then I got another TV series which will be coming out very soon, which I can't talk about. But all these things happen for a reason. And it was it was a bookmark, and it was an amazing time in my life. And so, there's so much to talk about. But it was an amazing time in my life, and I loved everyone in that. And I still keep in contact with the whole cast. It was a young cast. A few of the actors are doing amazing things. So I was taken care of.
So
I was taken care of. They took care of me.
That's really nice to hear, and it's nice to see that you see the positive side of it, because I think that's important. As a mindset sort of thing, is to find the positives. So that happened, and you find all this out. When you were filming for it, was there a lesson which you remember that you took from that, which stuck?
Particularly like a lesson that you'd want to give out to anyone who's wanting to get involved in the industry.
Yeah.
Oh, in the industry, yeah. I think what you bring to the table, your playfulness, which is inherent in everyone, whatever you bring in the acting, that's the thing that's going to be the key to your longevity and success in the industry. Not going to a million acting classes and thinking that I've got to do it this way. It's, again, I see it as turning up for yourself. The improv helped me doing that. The improv helped me to open myself up, and everyone's got that innate ability to create. So I think it's tapping in on your own inner world to become the best actor you can be, because you'll never be Timothée Chalamet or Zendaya, because they're separate people, and you're you and you're you and you're you. So your individual essence is what is gonna make you the person you'll be, and it's the journey to get there, not the end point. So I feel like, the improv helped me massively. It's just expressing. It's just the true expression of yourself. That's all. It's as simple as that. But you've got to peel layers of yourself to get to that point, because society, I think, in the world we live in, when people don't have it, they can sometimes condemn other people for what they don't have, for what they lack. And I feel like if I think in the world there can be an abundance of lack, ironically, but there can be an abundance of feeling like you've got everything already, and everything is an addition. And that's what I did when I came into Charlie Bone. I already felt like I was the actor. I could play around. I didn't feel like I was in need of it. I didn't think I lacked it. So I feel like, tap into the inner world, and I feel like the outer world will change
Just
in that way.
Just before we wrap there, you mentioned peel away the layers and tap into the inner world. Could you elaborate on that?
Peel away when someone maybe told you couldn't do this thing, or someone was projecting their own feelings of, I don't know, unworthiness or insecurity onto you. Going back to when you were a kid, that's to simplify it, going back to when you were a kid and how that felt. And it didn't feel like anything, you were just being. So just be. Again, it's
perfect advice.
Yeah, just be. And that's what helps me be so playful and wacky in the acting world.
Dude, I appreciate it so much, man. Right, thanks for coming on.
Thank
It
you,
was a
boys.
beautiful interview, man.
Thank you.
Very much.
That
Thank you
is
so much.
a wrap, ladies and gentlemen.